All right. Hey, class. This is Pod 1. Doing our informative speeches. We're all going to track our time on our phones, and then we'll share it once we finish. So Josh is going to go first. So
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Joshua, and my topic is about the crisis at the U.S.-Mexican border. In March of 2021, the U.S. Southern Border Patrol reported the apprehensions of immigrants over 210,000, with 14,000 of them being unoccupied children smuggled by coyotes, local gang members, and cartel members who make money bringing these people up to the border. These are the highest numbers in 2 decades because of the pandemic. And also just the factor that there's a lot of things going around in the world right now, which is causing these people to come to the U.S. The COVID-19 pandemic, 2022, brought multiple dips in the numbers of the people migrating and trying to illegally cross the border, which begs the question: why are these numbers surging now, and why should it matter? To have a full perspective on this issue, we first have to understand the culture of extortion and fear these citizens face in Mexico and Central America, in their own countries, in their houses, just everything that goes on in their world. As cartels rival and get stronger, tensions rise, blood is shed, and ultimately it's not the gang members or cigarros paying for it, it is the pueblos that do. For example, in Mexico, territory is how the cartel asserts dominance over a piece of land and ownership over that certain town or area. These areas are patrolled and the citizens are killed and the places are extorted. The citizens are extorted, killed, and they're even just ran out of their villages for the purposes of drug warfare. Areas include most of El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Mexico. With these places plagued with violence and poverty, these families will turn to these cartel members or just rival gang to take them on a trip up north to the U.S. border for around $6,000 to $10,000 U.S. just to get across the border. As expected, the individuals could abuse and will abuse these families they are transporting to go as far as keeping them for ransom, selling them to rivals for extortion, and even just abandoning them at the border to avoid getting caught. So I have a picture of this child getting abandoned at the border. So it's a little girl and a little baby. They're left at the Rio Grande border on Texas. And then in reports by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, they show a bar graph of the amount of identified family unit apprehensions compared to the identified unaccompanied children apprehensions, which is higher than the amount of the identified unit. So I have that bar graph also. So the dark blue is the unaccompanied children, and the light blue is the family units. And then this is 2016, 17, 18, and 19. And then, yeah, that's the picture. And then when these children and adults are abandoned and get detained by Border Patrol, they get sent to facilities where they're held. And we had a facility during the pandemic in San Diego, which was at the convention center. And I don't know if you guys ever noticed, but that's why they had the convention center closed off. They would have curtains on the windows. They had everything closed off. And I had a couple of my friends working there to help translate. And they got paid by the government, which was all government ran. And yeah, and then A report from Fox News, migrant COVID cases surge at the southern border, states that 834 migrant children were apprehended in one day. This just shows you how these facilities can get packed and how this topic is very sad. All these children away from their parents, they're probably ages 3 to teenage years. They don't know what to do. And I actually have a picture of this facility. This is just an example picture. As you can see, it's super packed and I don't know if you could pinpoint, but there's certain people wearing masks, but not everyone's wearing masks, and how close they are. So the chances of getting COVID are like very high. So, and like they don't have anything. They're just all standing there, bunched up. So I think that's a very sad thing. But let me go on to the next one. In a report by Border Report, it states COVID-19 cases increase among migrant children in the South Texas border detention facilities. So not only is it messed up that these children are abandoned, but they're also at a very high risk of getting COVID. And in May of 2017, a report did a survey on about 400 migrants, and out of 33% said that they had been sexually assaulted during their trip up north. And while this being said, the Border Patrol brought forth these procedures as far as separating the adults and children who did not bring proper documentation to show their relationship. So if a parent and their daughter came to the border and were apprehended by the Border Patrol and they didn't have proof that they're mother and daughter, then they're most likely going to get taken away from each other. And I actually have a picture of the number of migrant children just seen at the border by themselves. And this was before the pandemic, the big dip in the middle, and then the pandemic hit, which was it dipped down, and then now it's going back up. All these things play a big part and ultimately encourage the fund of the cartels and the gangs to operate over our borders. Although, apart from these dangers and to the cities of the border, the volumes of people coming through are coming from a red zone COVID areas, and the numbers have been surging like places like Cameron County, where 30% of COVID cases came from the apprehended migrants. All in all, I feel this is something worth covering and is a concern to all American people, not just the ones who live on the border, but all American people who care about their health and their security. The people should have the right to this information to form their own opinion. Thank you.
Cool. Good job, Josh. For my feedback, I think one thing I really enjoyed about your speech was the visuals that you presented to us. I thought those were really good and tied back into your talking points really well. Other than that, there's not much else that I have like criticism for. I thought your speech was really well organized. You kind of seemed prepared. You had all your photos ready to go, kind of where you wanted them. So good job.
Yeah, I agree. It was really good. And I think the photos that you used were really, they're like emotional. So I think that really spoke to your audience, like bringing it out. And I don't really have any negative feedback. The only thing is maybe like engaging the audience more, but I think you did that with the photos. So I really don't have anything bad to say.
Yeah, I like your visual presentation, how you research about, and also I like how you care about how others from other people from other countries and other stuff want to go to the border. Like you talk about that in kind of history days, because that's kind of what happened in recent histories coming right now. I like how you kind of do research. Maybe you can go for a little bit of the part, so I keep most likely hearing that almost all the time. That's my part of my thing I want to say.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Let me get my, okay. All right, so hey class, my name is Ryan Hernandez, and for my informative speech, I will be talking about social media use in our society, and kind of how social media has risen to the importance it is today in our society. So I think I first want to start off this speech by asking you guys, how often do you guys go on your phones? And how often do you guys use social media to connect with someone, whether it's a family member or a friend? The first quote I want to bring up is only 5% of adults in the United States reported using a social media platform in 2005. That number is now around 70%. I brought up this quote because I think it's important to show the sheer growth of the amount of users in social media in today's society. I also think that this quote doesn't totally encapsulate how important social media is because it only states adults. And I think if the polling was expanded, you would see even greater numbers with the youth of our culture today. I think social media has taken huge steps and has really blown up amongst the youth in our nation, even around the world. And I think there's a couple things that make social media so popular. The first reason I think social media is so popular is because the ability to network on it. You have sites like LinkedIn and Indeed that allow you to network with future employers. Past employers can talk about you on your profile. And I think that social media is becoming so popular because opportunities that come from social media. Another reason I think social media is so popular is the ability to talk to your friends and family who may not live very close to you. For example, I could go on my phone right now and FaceTime my aunt who lives states away. And I think that's one of the more prominent reasons social media is so popular is the ability to network with people who may not live in your near vicinity. Excuse me. Another thing that is making social media extremely popular, I think, is the increase in technology we have. I know growing up, I had a flip phone, and I see kids nowadays walking around with their iPads and stuff. So, the increase in technology and the availability of technology, I think, are a couple of reasons why social media is becoming the way it is and becoming so important. You also see social media and the use of technology kind of trickle into the education system. I know that at the school I work at, everybody has a laptop, everybody has an iPad, whereas in the past, we didn't have that as students when I was in school. So I think there's definitely some positive benefits to the use of technology and social media in schools. And I think it's important to talk about the first kind of website that kind of shaped social media into what it is today. So I have a quote here about the first website that kind of shaped social media into what it is today. So the quote is, 6 Degrees was considered to be the first of social networks because it allowed people to sign up with their email address, make individual profiles, and add friends to their personal network. It was officially launched in 1997 and lasted until about 2001. MySpace and Facebook were kind of copycats of 6 Degrees. And you can kind of see by just the description I gave you from the article I took, 6 Degrees was almost like MySpace and Facebook before MySpace and Facebook were around. And both of those websites kind of took off around 2005, 2007-ish in that time era. So you can kind of see the timeline. And I think it's important to talk about the timeline because it kind of shows you where we are today in 2021 as a society with the use of social media. And for my first visual aid, I'll go ahead and show you guys. Here's a chart, and you can kind of see on the x-axis here, we have the years. On the y-axis, we have the percent of US adults who say they ever use an online platform. And you can kind of see the steady growth from 2012 all the way to 2021. YouTube is dominating with around 81% of adults saying that they use social media. I think it's also interesting that you can kind of see some online platforms have a more steep growth trend. And you can kind of see like Instagram kind of has a steady growth all the way up to 2021, whereas Reddit has this really steep slope of growth. Excuse me. And I think that really goes to show you how quickly social media is kind of taken over and how fast social media is growing. My next quote is from a study by Jean Twang, a professor of psychology at San Diego State University. She found that as a cohort, high school seniors heading to college in 2016 spent an hour less a day engaging in in-person social interaction, such as going to parties, movies, or riding in cars together, compared with high school seniors in the late 1980s. As a group, this decline was associated with the increased digital media use. However, at the individual level, more social media use was positively associated with more in-person social interaction. The study also found that adolescents who spent the most time on social media and the least time in face-to-face social interaction reported the most loneliness. And to go with that quote, I also have another visual aid. Let's see. So here's the percent of US adults in each demographic group who say they ever use an online platform. So this is similar to the other chart I showed you guys, but I think this one is a little more relative to the quote I just said, mostly because they have this section here where they broke up the usage in age groups. So you can kind of see here, ages 18 through 29 kind of dominate the social media usage. 95% of them use YouTube, 70% use Facebook, 71% on Instagram, so on and so forth. One thing that I really like about this visual aid is that I believe that if the polling and the research was expanded, you would see the age group, maybe 17 and below, really dominate the use of social media. And I think that is also another thing that kind of goes to show how social media is such an important piece of our culture and society today. I think good or bad, social media is a huge part of our lives. We should enjoy the moments we have together and utilize social media to our advantage. And it will be interesting to see where we project as a society in the near future, given the increase in technology and projection of social media sites. Thank you.
Hi, Ryan. I thought your speech was really good. I feel like you got really good at making eye contact and like involving us into your speech. I thought it was really interesting, and I like the graphs you used. I also couldn't think of anything to like say negatively. I was trying, but I couldn't come up with anything. So good job.
I really enjoyed your speech. I thought it was a really good speech. And your information was really well written. I actually didn't know what 6 degrees was. I didn't even know that was a thing. And I said MySpace and Facebook were based off that. That's something I learned. So I really like it. Your speech was good. Great.
Yeah, Ryan, I like how you kind of use visual presentation as well as Garcia. I like how you use, like, I guess your experience as well from like people kind of using flip phones, because nowadays they have, well, these screens, kind of these flat screens that are like flat screens different from the flip phones. I like you to talk about your experience from back in the days, like your experience about us as well. Some of the things I noticed that you keep saying and a lot. Maybe you can lessen that for a bit. And yeah, I like all your presentations. And I guess nothing much wrong with that.
Cool. Appreciate it, guys.
Joseph, do you want, or I'm so sorry. Joshua, do you want me to go next, or do you want to go first?
Go next if you want.
Okay, perfect. All right, let me just pull up my doc. All right, so I called mine A Trick to Positivity. First, I want to start off with introducing myself. My name is Lexi. I'm sure you guys have seen the other speeches, but have you guys ever felt blue or as if you were in a slump that you couldn't get out of? I feel like I chose this speech so we can all connect to it, because every one of us have gone through something. So I always think, like, wouldn't it be nice if there was just a quick little fix to trick your mind into feeling positive and bubbly again? Well, by activating these happy hormones, you could. So let me educate you guys on the 4 mood altering hormones known as dopamine, oxytocin, endorphins, and serotonin, so your mental health can bloom. Before I begin, I'd just like to ask you guys, how are you? What's triggering your happiness or lack of? Just like, what are you doing day to day that's really affecting your moods the most? So there are many activities that you can simply add to your lifestyle that will boost each happy hormone. So things that will trigger your happiness. So I'll just give you guys a few examples and dig into how each hormone benefits you. So I'll start off with like a little story. It's just like interactive. You know, those mornings you wake up and all you want to do is go back to bed. Well, let's say instead of snoozing, you stay in bed and journal and just do 3 goals that you want to complete that morning. After that little dose of motivation, you go and complete one of those tasks, and there you have your first boost of dopamine. That's the feel-good neurotransmitter hormone. That's boosted when you complete a task or anticipate an reward. So it could be things like just like going around and cleaning your room or something. You feel like after that, you get a clean room. So that boosts dopamine in your mind. You'll notice how it feels so much better than just sleeping in. You think that with more sleep, you would feel more energized, but actually because you're producing that hormone, it gives you a temporary feeling of euphoria, which actually was stated in a Healthline article called "How Does Dopamine Affect the Body?" So now let's say one of your morning goals was to go out on a jog. And of course, it's still the morning time, you're just starting, you're gonna feel sloggy. But as you go on and you keep running and you keep pushing yourself, you start to feel more and more awake and energized. And that might confuse you because you should be more tired since you're using your body, but it's due to your body's natural painkiller called endorphins. And I'm sure you guys have heard of runner's high. I feel like that's why like the most known hormone. So endorphins give you like a kind of like feeling of like everything, you don't really feel the pain, you just feel like the excitement of it. So that keeps your body alive even after a tough workout. It replaces discomfort with satisfaction. This article that I found, it was called "How to Hack Your Hormones for a Better Mood." It said that adding exercise to your daily routine, so instead of just like doing it once randomly, if you do it every single day, it doesn't just activate endorphins anymore, but it starts to activate dopamine and serotonin levels as well. The article didn't really go into why it does this, but I think it is because it's a goal that you have for yourself. So that like really releases the dopamine. It's like the reward, like you start seeing like, oh, like maybe you're slimming down or maybe you're getting better at running. That all just makes you feel very confident and rewarded. And let me show you guys a quick little photo of, it's a little brain scan of what it looks like. I don't know if you guys can see. Okay, there we go. So that's your brain after sitting quietly, and there's your brain after going on just a 20-minute walk. I've heard more studies show that it takes 30 minutes for you to really release a lot of endorphins, but in this photo, it says 30. So, and then let me go back. On your run, or on our run, let's say, if we were, we not only boost our endorphins. Sorry, I got a little scrambled. We not only boosted our serotonin from the exercise itself, but also on our outdoor jog, we benefited from just a single act of being out in the sun. So according to a PubMed Central, it was released in 2008, which I know is a little bit outdated, but this research has been going on for years. So it's definitely confirmed that natural exposure has been proven to produce serotonin levels. And that's so important because the lack of serotonin is known to correlate with depression and anxiety. So making it a priority to leave your house every day is crucial to your psychological balance. Let me find my little photo. Here you go. So this is another brain scan. And you could see on the side the difference. Like if you're depressed, you definitely lack serotonin, and if you're not depressed, how bright it is. It just proves that it definitely has some correlation with that. And I'm not saying that if you are depressed, you should go seek help and these little activities aren't going to benefit you a lot. But if you are just feeling blue every now and then, these will definitely help you get back on track. But if you are constantly feeling sad, you should definitely go seek medical attention. And then In our little story, let's just say morning has come to an end and you are already feeling focused, grounded, and calmer, all due to just 3 out of the 4 happy hormones. So last, but definitely not least, because I feel like this one is definitely the most important, even though it has been shown that oxytocin does apply more to girls. It still does apply to men a lot. And even just as you're born, like in this little photo, this is my last photo, but this is just like the first little memory you're ever going to have, as if your mom just kissed you on the cheek or on the forehead. You could see the mother's oxytocin, her levels rise, but even the baby. So I think that was really cool to see that love starts at such a young age. They call it the love hormone. Let me get back to mine. So oxytocin levels can rise by just cuddling up with your cat or any pet, or just kissing a romantic interest, maybe like the first day, any physical touch, socializing, and helping others. I've heard a lot of people say that just acts of kindness actually benefit not only the other person, but your mind. So in an article written by Marcus McGull, it confirms oxytocin's association with relationship building as well. So if you guys are both interacting a lot and you guys produce high oxytocin levels together, your relationship will benefit from that. This hormone is so powerful that it is known to lower anxiety and stress levels, which I know you guys heard from the other hormones. They do all really interact together to help balance your mental stability, but this one really, it like links to longer lives. It's really I don't know if you guys know the difference between happiness and joy, but happiness is more temporary while joy is more lasting, even while you're going through harder times. If you have a good level of oxytocin that you're getting regularly, you're going to be more happy overall as a person. So learning about the chemicals that go on inside you will take your life on an entirely new path. You will learn to cope in natural ways instead of just trying to scramble anything, that little fixes that will make you happy. You'll learn like, oh, I know I'm doing this because it's actually going to benefit my mind. So doing these activities that boost your hormones every day are just going to make your life different. So each happiness hormone works with each other to better you. So I said like a few examples throughout my thing, but honestly, like with the run, it was benefiting both serotonin and your endorphins and dopamine. So like they all kind of work together just to like make you feel good. And just remember, like my most important thing and my final thing that I'm going to say is that it all starts from within. So if you're feeling horrible on the outside, or if you're feeling horrible just with whatever your life is like at the moment, just start by doing these little tasks to make you better inside. And then you'll just be happy with yourself and everything else will just flow. Thank you guys. And that was my little speech.
Cool. Good job, Lexi. One thing that I really enjoyed about your speech was you kind of like put it into a story. And I think that was like really easy for the audience to follow. I also really enjoyed how you mentioned like your article's name and where the information was coming from. I thought like as an audience member that like really affirmed for me like that your sources were credible. Other than that, I loved your speech organization and the lead-ins for your articles. So good job.
Thank you.
Really good speech. I really loved your visual aids, even the last one. It was very like warming in a way. And so I think that could connect the audience very well. And also just all the information was like really good. It really informed me about this topic, which I didn't know much about it, but now I know a decent amount. So yeah, good job.
Thank you.
I like how you use visual presentation ads as well. I like how you kind of influence that kind of in all our societies, how it kind of affects us, kind of give us it's like we need more hormones, was it? I think it was something like that. We need more of that kind of in today's society because all the virus going on, some tragedies happening to our history, stuff like that. That could help us out, huge impact upon us. Kind of like like how it is, stuff like that. So I like how your presentation goes and things like that.
Thank you.
All right, class, my name is Joshua Hernandez, and I'll be talking about how cyberbullying causes and affects us in teens. Now, have you ever wondered how, like, have you ever talked about someone about how judgment and how we kind of judge upon someone's age or genders or appearances about how we say to others, like kind of saying like, hey, is that person dating another person that's different from the genders probably? Well, how me say this again? Pardon me, let me say this again. Have you ever experienced bullying before, or ever like from a little kids, or ever from a little when you were a little kid, have you ever experienced bullying, or does you have your friend have experienced bullying about things, about like situations about how their ages, their empathy, their appearances, their traits, at most likely anything that any bullying could affect the teens in their life? I'd like to tell you how this can cause any sociological, emotional, and behavioral effects of how bullying can impact in internet, how it also impacts the internet. As according towards sociological psychology today.com, 25% to 30% of teens, of young people, have been surveyed and admitted experiencing or taking part in cyberbullying, but more than 12% of the same 12% of the same survey said they have traditional bullying. As we know that, as you know that it is a high amount of percentage of cyberbullying more than traditional bullying. That is a major problem in our society as well. But let's define what cyberbullying really is. Cyberbullying is defined as the information and communication of harassing and repeating and a hostile type of behavior that can be to an individual or a group, or to the individual or group through technology these days. Right now, we're in this pandemic right now, so it's kind of teens have like a kind of an increase of what they can do, whatever they can do, because as before the virus happens, teens were kind of I guess before they were worried about like, oh, when we get caught, some people, because they're going through walk-ins, personals, face-to-face, that kind of increase their stress out a lot more. As one of the major findings of studies says that it has a negative psychological effects on today's society, kind of reports of how destruction, self-esteem, social isolation, relationships, and even a victim's symptoms as in post-traumatic stress disorders, anxiety, and also depression as well. As one researcher says, according to Raskas and Souls, in their research, they found out that 31% of victimized students reported that very or extremely upset. 19% were very scared, and 18% were very extremely embarrassed by online harassments. They also found out that there is repeated of acts of cyberbullying threaten to health developments of self-esteem, contribution to school failures that could happen to oneself, dropouts, increasing in dropouts, kind of increasing in dropouts, but decreasing in kind of face-to-face problems as well, and psychological symptoms such as depression and anxiety that could lead towards a very tragic kind of way of how psychological effects, how cyberbullying psychological effects teens these type of days. Another major findings that we found out is that we have several emotional problems about victim these type of days, and before it was having like negative behavior, like anxiety again, depression, low self-esteem again, even the feeling of worthlessness that involves into becoming uses of drug uses and alcohol uses, plus lacking focus and changing of behaviors. As according to the Touro University worldwide, a student from teen ages from 13 to 17 from Harris Interactive found that 85% of middle school students and 56 found out that 58% of middle schoolers and about 56% of high schoolers experience cyberbullying. But some of them, but about 37 and 32% respectively felt hurt, and while 18 and 11% felt scared. Kind of shows how in today's society, how teens, middle schools and high schools can be a huge impact about how cyberbullying have a huge impact on middle schools and high schoolers in kind of today's society, as we cannot go towards or not kind of before society where the virus started to happen, and some of the schools or businesses actually businesses closed down, and some businesses closed down, and how they affect other people from their jobs, how they, I guess, have a decrease in social behaviors, how to talk as well, kind of isolated as well, to help us out more. And one of another major findings is one of our major physical behavior is about studies on how physical behavior can affect cyberbullying as well. It can affect us how feeling embarrassed. You can see feeling embarrassed about how, because like if they send an image to something about like them going through public, how and then also see a show of depression and showing anger. Some of those are devastating to us teens. These type of today's and also before as well. Some of them shows a decrease. Evidence shows that there has been a decrease of school academic achievements that can affect teens. Increase a tendency of violence to others, including school violence or even possible suicides, that is devastating towards parents, family members, and also you yourself as well. And according to studies, about 32% of victims did not go to school because 32% of victims do not like to go to school anymore because of victimization. And about 34% thoughts of quitting school. 34% thought of quitting school. Being a victim of cyberbullying also affects students' grades. About 41% of victims confirmed that they had become less attractive, and 35% had repeated have repeated a grade since becoming victims of cyberbullying. Kind of shows how cyberbullying kind of affects us all in a physical type of way, how some people will drop out, they show a decrease of accommodations, academic achievements, sorry about that, how the grades decrease over time, about how it affects. But it shows, but also physical behavior also shows retaliation. Note that it shows retaliation could become even worse than before. So that it can nevertheless put a target in a more serious danger than before. Then cyberbullying can affect others in physical behaviors. According to studies, they found out that 16.7% who reported bullying at schools majors of grouping. Actually, no, 36.1% said that this school didn't have such a policy. Only about 6 participants were able to recall the specifics of what it says. However, 15.14% said that schools have no policies on cyberbullying, and nearly half of 48.6% reported if they had schools had or did not know the school 48.6% say that they had no idea that school bullying, cyberbullying even happened. So kind of shows that we need to be monitoring these type of students these type of days, because sometimes they don't have control over it. They don't have control over it because about constitution, stuff like rights and stuff like that. But I'm not saying that they need to monitor us 24/7. I'm just saying that they just need to monitor how kind of behavior, how it goes down, stuff like that. Some conclusions I prefer is that cyberbullying generates many solutions as well, kind of saying that if we have to, maybe have to go to therapy about how we can help us to go talk about it, maybe or maybe we can talk to our parents about it, our family members, parents, friends, or even other people can help us decrease depression, anxiety, anger, retaliation even further. Physical self as well. Also, studies found that there is another solution into helping out teens these type of days with cyberbullying that helps, because one of the solutions they found that is they want to put a moderator to help moderate about people behavior that's just each other's, kind of help us out. Another solution was to find that they have that to our friends or inform our families about it, to manifest our solutions about how to address it, how to problem solve it, and allow even parents to help out, teachers, or even maybe let the government to help us out a little. And that's how I want today's society kind of go, how it kind of affects us all in cyberbullying today in our society. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was really good. I think I really like your topic. I think that a lot of times people have more confidence online to say what they want to say, and so they end up using it negatively. So I like it, like all the research that you gave us and stuff. That was really good. The only thing I would say is to like engage your audience more, like maybe ask us if we ever like have been cyberbullied, or maybe like connect it to like a story or something. But other than that, it was really good, and I like your topic. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Josh, I think you did like you said, I really liked your topic. And I agree. The only criticism I really have is maybe just trying to engage your audience a little bit more. And then maybe have like some visual aids that you could show us to kind of like go along with the statistics you're telling. Other than that, though, I thought your speech was pretty well organized. I thought it had a nice train of thought throughout. So yeah, good job.
Thank you.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, okay. Great speech. The only thing I would say is I remember last practice speech you showed a visual aid, so I don't know if you forgot about that, but I feel like if you would have added in, it would have been more connecting to the audience. But other than that, great information, a lot of good information. So good job.
Thank you very much.
Cool. And that's group one's recording of our informative speeches. Thank you guys for listening.